Yeah, so that's the original No Way Back spot right there. That's the leaky roof. Or what remains of it. They said that we trashed the place. I'm like, dude, your place trashed us.
The damage from on all the equipment from the water is just crazy. Let alone the creepiness of being on the dance floor and having like water fall on your head randomly. It's like really added to the vibe. It did.
Somehow it worked.
The party is so focused and the crowd knows what they're getting into. They come there for that focus, for that intensity.
Nothing is like No Way Back at all. It's like insane heads from all over the world are coming to Detroit that weekend and they're all coming to No Way Back, so it's completely special and different from anywhere else.
For me, it starts off with me going to the Music Institute, where Derek May had his residency. It's like these small black room parties, you know, hot boxes. Then in the 90s, people like Voom were doing some of the early parties. And then it became this rave scene. Richie Houghton was a big influence on that because he was traveling the world and he wanted to bring it back here. So he would try and bring the high production that he would find in England and in Europe. They'd charge a high ticket price and they would budget no profit. All the money went into production. And then Dean Major did these parties called System. He used netting and parachutes, and you'd walk into the place. It felt like you were in the middle of a revolution. Like some of the final System ones were these hardware parties. That was a former hardware storefront thing in Detroit. These were smaller parties that were more personal, not like the big mega rave aesthetic. He used great graphic design. It felt like an artistic statement. I was used to going to incredible parties in Detroit, and every time I came down, I was going to something special. But when I moved here, I was just like shocked and bummed out about the way the scene was at the time. The people were still here. Many of the people that had been through the 90s special stuff were still here, and still I could bump into them at parties, but we're just like, what's going on? I was on the phone with Derek Laseko, and I said well, man, we should just do a 12-hour party. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, only 4 DJs.
I felt like this year's party was definitely a success as far as the spatial installation. The whole idea is to create a welcoming space that's not just like a 90-degree angle that you look at all the time. The parachutes are amazing because they have these angles created in them, depending on how you put them up. It's hard to tell another person how to do this if they don't have any previous experience hanging a parachute, which who does? Somehow I have this amazing crew every year that just volunteers to show up and comes and to the end. It's amazing. I like an underwater feeling because if you've ever gone snorkeling, you feel like you're alone under there, you're by yourself, you're in an intimate environment, and it's just really easy to let yourself go and just be who you want to be. So for me, it's like a freedom of the mind. I don't want to create what their visions are in their head. I want their heads to open up and let themselves see what they want to see. I don't want to dictate what that is. So I try to be really calm with the lighting. Generally, we have a little bit lighter at the beginning, and then we kind of just fade the light down or cut some lights as the night goes on to make it a little bit darker. We have theories about the lighting, where we like to use red as if you're looking at the chakras of the spine, if you've ever looked at the colors versus the chakras, red is your base chakra, And that's where your dancing is coming from. That's like shaking your hips, letting out like maybe your more sexual energy. And then I like to go up to the purple lighting because that's the top crown chakra where all your energy is coming out. And I feel like there's a connection there that helps connect the body without thinking about it so much, you know? Like, I don't want you to think about how to like lose yourself. I just want you to go into the environment and be able to do that automatically. The interaction between the DJs is, to me, what's so special about No Way Back, and that drives me to make an amazing space. And I know that Jim just is always getting better with sound every year. And just the fact that people can come and enjoy that, it just makes me really happy to see all that.
Like the very first No Way Back, like the bank No Way Back.
The first Saturday of December in 2007.
I think a lot of people, because of like the flyer, you know, and those, you know, like some words on it, and then returning to the source and that kind of thing. People in Detroit knew somewhat what that meant, but I think they were still surprised to see this just super dark, like black plastic room, you know, with netting hanging up, and you know, we just had like 2 green lasers. That was the only lighting in that whole room.
It was like nobody expected it, but it was a snowstorm that day.
I don't know that too many people knew what they were getting into.
It was really dirty.
The place was in such bad shape.
You know, it was definitely a much smaller local affair.
You know, there was lots of water coming in all the time.
And that was just because of the blizzard outside.
So the snow accumulated on the flat roof of this place. It was a bank, like this is the back part of the bank, like where, you know, I don't know, where you probably stored paper or something. The heat of the people dancing reached up to the roof and started melting that snow, and all the soot and junk that was up there just started dripping down.
It got pretty, like, intense.
A bunch of Carlos's records got ruined.
It was even worse than you could imagine. The vibe of the party was so incredible that negative aspects of the venue become positives in like how people feel about it.
But yeah, as far as like the musical content that was brought that night, it was certainly different than what was going on in much of Detroit at the time. So I think that aspect, I don't think people knew that we were going to come that heavy.
It kept going on and on because like the guys just kept playing, and you know, Carlos wanted to keep playing music, so people kept playing music.
I still had this illusion in my head that people would, like the crowd that was there at 3 a.m. would be there at 9 a.m., at 11 a.m., at noon.
Ryan Elliott got donuts at like 6 a.m. That was genius.
Plaseco started sending out texts like the keg ain't gonna drink itself.
It got to be about 9:30 in the morning, and the attendance at that point was just a few people really left. A lot of friends still left, but as far as like just people on the dance floor or whatever. And Carlos was bringing it extremely heavy at that point. Again, this is around 9:30 a.m. And I go up to him and I'm like, so what do you think? We should maybe, you know, kind of point it out to the room, like maybe we should go kind of down a little bit, or you want us, maybe should we wrap it up soon or whatever. And he just looked at me, he's like, the flyer says noon.
I think ended up playing until about 5 in the afternoon.
The sound guys were absolute saints. They were falling asleep in a chair in the corner. Finally, we were like, kind of like, okay, it's 1. Can we maybe? We just want to take our sound home. You guys can keep partying if you want.
Its reputation has snowballed so that like many people want to find out about this, but it was really for us, for this scene to be like, this is where we're from, and this is like where we can truly be free. To bring it full circle, the person who worked the door at the first No Way Back was Dean Major, the founder of System. Like you could feel the spark of the idea from the first party.
The first year it was almost like a springboard for like the rest of the years, maybe the foundation, playing this kind of older, like heavier, like faster music.
We knew what it meant, and maybe we hadn't articulated it perfectly the first time, but we knew what we wanted to do. But I was going to use these DJs until they were like household names. You know, I was on the phone with Derek when, you know, we theorized it, so of course Derek's a core part of it, and Patrick Russell, who at the time was a criminally underrated DJ. Skill level so high, and Carlos Souffrant. If you listen to a recording of a Carlos Souffrant set, you will realize that there are 45-minute, half-an-hour-long movements of multiple rhythms within his set that most DJs aren't even aware of. And so that was the original crew, and I was like, never gonna not be these guys. But I had been doing parties in Detroit with Mike Servito. We did like these Halloween parties. Carlos can be really fun, but he's at the time was a lot darker, and Patrick was really serious. Derek balances it, but it was like Servito just brought another kind of like fun to it.
So the second one was Beth Mingles-Loft, and that was one that we did as Too Far Gone, No Way Back, where we had, you know, more like rock-ish, more disco-y, like punky music earlier, and then it, you know, turned into techno afterwards. Pretty
good size compared to what we had in 2007, but also it was during the festival, so you know, it kind of ended up needing that amount of space because there was a lot of people that came through in the festival, including Moby and some other people that just were playing the festival that year.
It was totally insane. It was the night of the Cube. Richie Houghton was presenting the Cube. So like this guy who was originally an influence for us, a major influence for us, was like in a totally different phase of his career. A lot of people went there and felt like, oh wow, what happened to our underground? What happened to our music? And then they came to this party and they're like, oh, it moved.
Yeah, I mean, what I remember the most about that party is having to leave to get stitches.
The police came to that party. The person whose loft it was super freaked out, and I believe slammed the door on Erica's hand. It looked really messed up, so we had to end the party and get her to the hospital.
And then I had to like be in the ER for hours, and then we had to play live at the festival.
Oh my God, yeah. So we wanted to be in an environment that we could control. Derek had been working at the time with Bunker. He became a resident of Bunker in New York. And he's like, oh, you know, it's like I'm doing this Bunker stuff. So I check out, you know, Brian Kosinek's like mixes and, you know, what they're booking and everything. And it was like, wow, it's doing really great stuff. And so it just made sense for us to team up for, you know, for the movement thing to make this a cohesive statement from different perspectives.
Every one of the spaces just certainly had some magic. I mean, the Bow House definitely had brought this kind of like hulking, like just bizarre feeling to the place. Is so huge.
And what I loved about the Bow House is that every time we did the party there, it was set up a little bit differently. So it was like always a different layout and like always a different use of the space. And that was really, really fun from year to year.
The Bow House is, I think, where No Way Back really found its voice.
And that room was perfect because it was like the first time that No Way Back had been on a wood floor. So it just felt really great for dancing.
We did a 2009, 2010. The 2010 one was exceptional. We did one in 2011 and the police came.
Or the year that the Bow House got shut down, I had to play at the festival the next morning too.
The natural place for me to move the party to after that, just in my head, was because the Music Institute had such an impact on me, and I thought that we could take it to the Music Institute space.
Those were really when I think the years where the magic really started to kind of like congeal.
There's that photo of the crowd in 1515 and how many of the people are outside, like versus how many could actually possibly fit inside the party.
I think the Broadway spaces where like the focus really started coming together with the music as well.
Eventually, after doing some other events, it became apparent to me that the Tangent Gallery was in a great place.
It seemed that it was just really going to be the best, by far, by a million times, option for us to move the party to.
Any place that I bring people to, I want them to be, for it to be a safe space, for their mind to go free, for them to return to the source, to touch back to where this all comes from. I don't want them to be burdened with anything else. And the Tangent Gallery gave us that in a place that was like clean, loved, taken care of, a blank slate where we could bring in our sound, do it the way we wanted to do it, and Amber could transform the space and decorate it the way that she wanted to. The people that work at the Tangent Gallery symbolize what the party No Way Back is about, in that it is renegade people living outside of society, living a real, all the way alive life.
This here is a fire by Wizard. Many fires have been started in this pit by the Wizard, and many will continue to be started, but this is one of my favorites. I put the magic of calm into this fire to make sure that we had clear skies. Once I lit it up, the rain stopped for us. I think it's going to be a good one for us.
I've never seen anything like that in Detroit, I think, ever.
I felt great about this year overall. Yeah.
Just that many people going that ape shit.
And all of the DJs function together like a band. It's or maybe like an improvisational jazz group.
When we're playing, we don't talk about it beforehand, what the music is that we brought.
It's like the end-to-end of techno, in a way, because it's super diverse within that realm.
It is their highlight of the year. They put everything they have into what their set is and blowing the audience's mind.
I'm still wrapping my head around it.
Well, No Way Back is the very concept of trying to look backwards to go forwards, and then you can't go back.
It's the same core idea, but grown and permutated on and expanded.
The amount that we can push everyone now is just unlike anything that I had ever dreamed of in the first year, for sure.
This is our stupid sense of humor. 1986, the Adonis song, No Way Back. Of course, but it's you can't go backwards. So to look backwards at our history, to make it into something new and fresh that could help us find what was fresh about that, but what's innovative to go forward with.
When a thought becomes you.
It's hard to even name everyone who's been involved with helping.
Never comes true.
The sound guy, he's a mad genius. We haven't even talked about him. Jim Gibbons, AVS.
Everyone who's ever helped me out, which is about 1 million people. You all know who you are.
Israel Vines is always coming through. Andrew Smith. Definitely Sarah Vidash is up there.
There was one year that it just so happened John Templeton was driving around North America with some CDJs in his car, so he was able to save No Way Back when our backline fell through.
Dave Shanneman and Liz and Russ. Rest for Tig, like they've been like great help.
The Tangent staff have been really fantastic because, I mean, they really actually connect to the party and to the crowd, and they have a really good time working the event, it seems like.
Jed James, who actually donated one of our parachutes. We have one half, and then he has another half for his Midwest Fresh parties.
Huge thank you to the fans of the party, everybody that attends No Way Back. Thank you.
And I feel like we all understand each other really well, and we're all really committed to throwing like a quality, safe event.
When a thought becomes you. When a thought becomes you, I long to be free, with only you to watch.